discussion. So in the yesterday's class, we discussed about the characteristic features of cloud. 6 characteristics. What are they? On-demand usage. Next, ubiquitous access. Next, multi-tenancy. Next, elasticity, measured usage, and finally the resiliency. Moving ahead, I think I had given a very brief description, introduction on cloud delivery models. So whatever the service that is being offered by the cloud provider will be in terms of a service, and the mode, the delivery mode in which this service will be given out, we will be calling that particular thing as delivery models. And the basic or else fundamental models are 3, that is infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as service. Rest all other services will be either on one of these 3 services only, or they can be formed as subset of these 3 services. Okay, so in depth, if we start looking into the fundamental service delivery models, first one we'll go with infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure, the name itself says infrastructure, in the sense, the service will be in terms of hardware components. The service will be in terms of hardware components, in the sense, this particular IT environment is ready to provide infrastructural IT resources. Infrastructural IT resources as a service. Say, for example, I want to purchase a server for some purpose, and I think that, okay, my server should be of this particular configuration, but I don't want to spend more money on it, and hence I can go for Amazon or any other cloud provider, and I can ask for an infrastructure service, like, I want this much of RAM, I want this much of processing speed, I want this much of memory, like, I can raise with the specification, and I can get that sort of infrastructure onto my service. Okay, so remember that though we were discussing about IT resources, now here in infrastructure as service, what we mean by IT resource is purely hardware resources. Purely hardware resources. And all these are usually virtualized. All these resources are usually virtualized. That means, if you had remember, we used to do the para-virtualization, okay? And all these virtualized resources will be packaged into a single bundle. Say, for example, if I had raised a request for 3 machines with 2 GB RAM, 3 GB RAM, and 5 GB RAM, and probably like hard disk space around 1 TB, 1 TB, and 2 TB. Like, okay, so my configuration, my hardware configuration will be like, 2 GB RAM, and with a processing speed of, let us assume, 1.5 gigahertz, and with internal space, hard disk external space, something equivalent to 1 TB. Similarly, the second machine with a RAM of 2 GB and with a processing speed, let us assume, even this is also for 2 gigahertz per second. And the memory I'll be using is again here for 1 TB. Similarly, I can raise these many number of requests, and I can get. See, when I raise this particular request, all these are all, of course, they are virtualized components, but at the same time, you can see them as bundled to one particular package. They are bundled to one particular package. If this is the RAM, this is the memory you would be needing, and this is the in infrastructural support you might be needing. And also, see, as an example, I have told only the minimal requirements of any system, but at the same time, you can find beyond these things, like, you could have the IT resource bundled in terms of a network router, or a network hub probably, or some sort of graphics card as well. You can be going ahead, or any antivirus thing, or else even BIOS also. Okay, you can go and you can have bundled according to your that required. Okay, so as you can see that these infrastructural devices are hand-picked, and they should be played at the consumer end while consuming. Okay, they should be played at the consumer end, and you can see that consumers should be requiring high level of control over the cloud environment. Why? Because they need to they need to talk to different hardware, sorry, or infrastructural components, I should say. They need to talk to different infrastructural components, and they need to organize or reorganize those structures in such a way that they can consume it in a proper sense, or as in approved sense, I can tell in that sense. Okay, so that's about the infrastructural service. On the other hand, you can see that usually virtual instances, like virtual machines, can be provided. You can call them as an infrastructure as service. Okay, but remember, at times even virtual servers are leased by specific hardware requirements. Not necessarily that they are completely allocated to one particular client or consumer, but at times they can be offered in terms of a lease periods also, in terms of a lease periods also. Okay, that's about basically the infrastructure as a service. Now moving on to the next level, that is, okay, fine. So here the slide shows how the infrastructural service is being offered to a cloud consumer. You can see the cloud, and there is a physical server in the cloud. You can see a physical server, and the physical server is being created into a virtual server. Okay, that means there are few virtual servers created on that particular physical server. Okay, and these virtual servers will be given for the consumer for its access. And this virtual server, like it says, what the virtual server is of 32 GB RAM and 4 GB local storage. Service level availability. See this service level agreement is availability with 99.5%. Okay, and absolutely no failures. Okay, and what is the cost involved in it? 0.95 per hour. So this is how entire information will be run into an agreement. Okay, so here you can see the product is in terms of virtual server and RAM and local storage. So here literally we are talking only about the hardware components, isn't it, right? Now, moving on to the next one, that is platform as service. It is something like next level of EAS, that is infrastructure as a service. You can call that as a ready-to-use environment. Ready-to-use environment. Say, see, like if you had consumed only infrastructure as a service, again you need to recreate the operating system. You need to install certain components. You need to install certain applications. Blah 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 kind of things. Okay. Instead, I don't want all those things. I directly want one ready-made utility kind of environment, where if I directly, that particular service takes me directly to the already pre-installed operating system and pre-installed packages of certain things. Pre-installed package of certain things, I can say. Like, say, for example, I could create an virtual image with Windows operating system. I think you would have already created in your lab sessions, isn't it, right? So you could have created virtual images with a certain type of operating system. You can name it as Windows, you can name it as Linux, and other flavors of Linux for that matter, and also certain packages like MS Office, like different browsers, or even the Java environment, that is various versions of JRE also you could have installed and you could have got it. Okay, isn't it, right? So every time when you take the infrastructure as a service, you need to recreate this sort of environment on infrastructure as service. So instead of that, okay, if the cloud consumer is being offered with the platform as service, that means a ready-made environment for the customer along with the infrastructure. In a sense, now in this particular in this particular service offering, the customer is being offered with the infrastructure, or else like amount of RAM, amount of hard disk, yes, that is there, and the kind of connectivity, that is network, whether it is bridge to LAN or NAT connectivity. There are many other terminologies where you can connect in a different ways. You can connect it to the internet from the cloud. Okay, so that sort of connectivity is being mentioned. And apart from that, what is the operating system you wanted, and what are the special packages or else additional packages for that matter you wanted in that particular operating system, so that when the consumer directly starts consuming it, he no need for him to check upon the hard disk and partition that hard disk and install an operating system and install other packages. So whenever the consumer directly logs into that particular service, automatically he will find a fresh machine where he can directly jump into the work, where he can directly jump into the work. Usually, the package in the environment, what I'm telling, like ready-made environment, usually it consists of cloud scalable and scalable applications, especially. Okay, why? Because the customer expects such kind of applications. So, for example, if we are using Adobe, probably in the Adobe, what to say, the package I would have installed like Adobe 9, okay, but the customer might be needing Adobe 11. So these kind of references would have been directly upgraded then and there itself. That means it is entirely ready for the customer to use, okay, and this actually lessens the what to say work of the consumer, or else it reduces the preparation work uh, for the consumer will be reduced, isn't it? Right. So that's exactly about the pass. So as we can see that most of the components are already installed. Most of the components are already installed, and like the environment is very much ready for the use. You can see that the cloud consumer will be granted with level of control, lower level of control over the IT resources. Remember, in infrastructure as service, higher level of control was required. It was mandatory. Why? Because it's all into bits and pieces. So the customer has to put them together, and hence he would require more controlling level, isn't it? But in PaaS, that's not the case. In PaaS, already everything is put in place. RAM, yes, this much. Yes, this is the size of the hard disk. This is the applications I need. So everything is in place. So then why do you think consumer will be needing much more control over these devices? I don't think so, isn't it, right? And even it's senseless also. Even it's senseless also, isn't it, right? So in the PaaS offering, the cloud consumer is being given a lower level of control on the IT resources. Okay, and perfect example for these packaged bundle environment ready to use bundles are like Google App Engines, which will be offering both Java environment and the Python environment. Okay, or you can create virtual machines like many virtual machines for that matter, many virtual machines for that matter with the different configurations. Like I could have asked for an operating system with 1.8 JRE, or else other operating system like 1.7 JRE, or Sun Java, or else IBM Java, different versions of Java environment also I could have done. Also, if I'm coding, okay, if I want to use this particular application with in terms of a coding, okay, I want this will be this missions for coding purposes, I can have the IDE is also installed on it. So, for example, I want a Java IDE, that is Eclipse IDE there, okay, where I can be directly jump into it and start Java programming. But on the other hand, some other for some other work, I would be needing Python IDE, or else NetBeans IDE probably, okay, where I can directly work on .NET and other things, isn't it, right? So in this way, depending upon the requirement, okay, all the packages are bundled and it is made ready for the consumer to start his own work, right? That's about the platform as service. Here in the example, you can see that the cloud is again equipped with the virtual server, but provided now the virtual server has certain amount of installations on it. That means these installations are making the environment ready. And here in the SLA, you could see that this virtual server is provided with application server, that is app server and DBMS. That's the kind of environment what the consumer was needed. And also as part of the SLA, you can see that availability is again 99.5% with auto scaling. With auto scaling, that means if the resource is growing more and more, that means as you have taken the DBMS here, and initially it would have been allotted for 2 GB or say 2 TB, something like that. And if the what to say, if the DBMS, sorry, if the data size is growing more and large, then automatically it might exceed beyond 2 TB as well. Okay, so it has to scale up on that. It has to scale up on that. So all these things are very clearly mentioned in the SLAs. Okay, and also you could see the price. You could see the price. That is $0.45 per hour, and that to entertaining 5 lakhs request. Okay, so all these things are typical SLAs that could very clearly and makes cloud consumer and the cloud provider to understand what the terms and agreements are, what is the payment, how the payment should be, and how many resources are being allocated, and what is the level or else percentage of availability. That includes even reliability as well. Okay, now, moving on to the next fundamental service, that is software as a service. Most of the cloud services are on this particular software as a service. So you people would have remembered even in the last semester I had told you how computer applications has grown from standalone computer applications to client server, and then from thick client to thin client, and all other things when I was explaining you people about the cloud as well, and also the software testing, application testing as well, isn't it, right? So you could see that most of the services like app service, mail service, web service, all these things are now as part offered as part of the software as a service. They are offered as just a service. There will be one such link. There will be one such link, and that link takes you to that service. Okay, and the service will be running somewhere in the cloud. Okay, and on having that link consumed, okay, automatically you get entertained with that particular service. You could see these things on your web pages. Now you open any like e-commerce web page, and you could see that there are few uh, few offering for prime customers and few offerings for non-prime customers. So that means two different services are being running on that particular app. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And also when you go for purchasing it, you could see purchase options. Okay, you could have opted for net banking. You could have opted for wallet payment. You could have opted for what to say, card system, that is debit card or credit card. They will be taken to the gateways. All these things, different methods, isn't it, right? So when you click on net banking method, okay, automatically net banking service link will get activated, and it takes to that particular service. Okay, remember, though you are well aware of NEVA right from first year, okay, you were not paying your fees through NEVA, isn't it, right? So and even in the NEVA, the left tabs, what you could see on your left, okay, so all those menu options are individual services. If you are liable to that particular service, you will be provided with, otherwise you will not. Otherwise you will not, isn't it, right? So in such a way, even in Neva, you can find the payment gateway service is being linked now, isn't it, right? So without that particular service, definitely you couldn't have done that. So it's all about the service link that is being consumed, isn't it, right? So it's just an external link that makes the consumer to consume the service that is being offered in the cloud by the cloud provider, provided all these service consumption will again be in terms of certain service level agreements. Remember, the kind of control that will be given here in this case of SaaS to the cloud consumer is very, very limited. Why? Because these people no need to go dig and else modify that particular service. If they are customizable, yes, they can be doing it to that extent only. So until or unless they really required to modify that service, they are not provided with the controls. So as and when you can see that infrastructure as service has more controls for more control on IT resources is being given to the cloud consumer. In the past, very less number of controls is being given to the cloud consumer, and when it comes to the SaaS, almost limited. If at all, if there are any administrative or customizable modifications has to be done, then only the control will be given to the SaaS. Then only the control will be given to the SaaS. Like for example, you could have seen Gmails with the different what to say domains. Like we have Gmail accounts, isn't it? So if it is a regular Gmail, then you can see your username in terms of Gmail. I mean, with the Gmail link, isn't it? But if any organization is taking a G Suite and a mail is being provided, so for example, I am being provided by Vidyaniketan and Vidyaniketan email ID, and that is offered from Gmail. And in my inbox, I could see the Vidyaniketan logo. That is in Gbox. That is in the Gmail inbox. I could see the Vidyaniketan logo, isn't it? So that is the kind of customization. So here I am able to, or else the control is being given to the Vidyaniketan people as a cloud consumers in such a way that only certain type of administrative and customizable operations can be controlled upon, not beyond that. Of course, Vidyaniketan people there cannot control upon the mail flow or else the security that has been involved in the mails and other things, isn't it? Right. So that's about the software as a service. And here is a perfect example of what you could see on the slide is, the cloud consumer. The You could see a cloud service is being consumed, which has been planted on the cloud. But provided you could see that there is no information about in which environment this particular service is being run and in which infrastructure that particular environment is being built. There is no such information. You don't worry. That means the cloud consumer not necessarily to worry on which operating system this particular server is running on. I don't mind what is the database, but still I think that my database should be safer. I don't mind what operating system this file server is working on. But as long as if I want to save my files, yes, definitely I should be saving them with utmost security, which I list as the security measure. Similarly, I don't find what is the kind of mail server or else what is the type of communication that is happening between the mail server and the database server. The end user or else the client, the cloud consumer doesn't really need to know what is the environment in which the service is running, and also what is the infrastructure that environment is being built upon. Okay, that's about SaaS. Now, the table you are seeing clearly makes you understand the kind of control levels on different delivery models. So in the SaaS, you could see that level of control granted to the consumer is very less, and this less in a sense it will be in terms of only configuration. It will be in terms of only configuration. That's why, see, I don't know if your people have installed and if you have gone through the installation locations and installation files, there will be only one file to change, that is config.ini. For every application, you could find this particular file, yeah, INI file, that is information file. Okay, this is configuration information file. Okay, so this configuration information file literally controls upon the kind of accessibility to the application. Okay, so how the user should be corrected and what is the encryption, and many things will be you will be finding in that particular configuration. Okay, and that's for the cloud consumer, and this will be accessible to the front end user interface. Why? Because these configurations are to be done by the end user itself, so for example, I'm installing my I have created the Gmail, and I would like to have the display as compact, but another account I would like to have it very embossed, like different configurations, isn't it? Right? Okay, so that is altogether depends upon the real end user who is sitting upon. Agreed or not? Okay, so that's the reason you could see that in the last column, typical functionality available to cloud computer, and if for the SaaS, okay, the control level is being given to the level of configuration. And yes, of course, this configuration can be accessible by the front-end user. Now, coming on to the past, very less or else limited administrative control is being given. And for this, definitely administrators, okay, system admins should be preparing all these kind of environments, okay, isn't it? Like, so they will be given certain kind of, what to say, accessibility to have that limited administrative modifications to be done on the service being consumed. Now coming on to the EAS, as I told they should be playing with the entire hardware infrastructural resources, and hence they are given full control, and hence you call them as a full administrative things. And definitely these things are visible at the infrastructural end only. So you could see that resource managers can also be working on this particular EAS. Whereas I could take you to another table in terms of activities, what the cloud consumer activities are expected and what the cloud providers activities are expected for each of these three delivery models. So first, let us go with the cloud consumer activities. In the SaaS, as I told, this is only, like service level, software level of consumption will be happening, and only customizable and configurable thing is allowed. And hence, you can see that, activities on the consumer end, you can see that only configuration part and the user configuration part or service configuration part is being allowed on the consumer part. But on the service on the PaaS service, you could see that cloud consumer can develop, he can do the development activity, he can conduct a testing, he can deploy his own applications, and he can play with little bit of those particular things. And when he is trying to control upon that environment, only limited control is being given, and hence with that limited thing he can develop the environment, develop his own application, test his desired application, or else install or deploy the required application according to his well and wish. Now moving on to the EAS, okay. So the consumer, he sets up entire infrastructure, okay. So he starts working on bare metal. He starts working on bare metal entirely, okay. So he will be, installing the necessary softwares. He will be updating them. He will be, trying to what to say, couple the mm, software components as well, if they are really requiring the merging, okay. Like they probably proper integration of software and hardware components. He should be installing the drivers. All those things will be on the cloud consumer side, okay. But let us look into the cloud providers activities, okay. So the cloud provider, as of SaaS is concerned, he just implements that particular service, and he try to manage and maintain whether the service is being abruptly working or not, okay. There are no show off of the services, okay. There is no server down on the service. Server should be flawlessly made available. So for that, whatever management or else whatever maintenance is needed for the cloud provider, so he will be taking care of. Now coming onto the PaaS, cloud provider definitely looks for creating a pre-configuration platform. Like, I will be needing Java. Then he says that Java is installed, and all the thing you need to set is, you need to set your path rightly. You need to set the path rightly. That is it. If you are running if you are running your Java application from other than the operating system source, operating system drive where Java is being installed and set up, okay. So you got to have the path set appropriately, okay, isn't it? Okay, so those sort of configurations, and little bit of middleware kind of creations, in the sense, say for example, if I want to run a video kind of thing on my web page, or else on my web browser, then I should see my Flash player is activated on it, isn't it? Okay, so I should install such Flash player. So all these kind of things, I'll be making it ready on the provider end. And now coming on to the EAS, okay, this makes cloud providers activities very simple. He just provides the resource, that is it. and it's up to the cloud consumer how he makes use of that particular infrastructural resource. He just says, okay, I need this much amount of RAM, and the provider just gives that. He says, okay, this is a bundle of resources what I will be needing, and he provides that bundle. That is it. He doesn't matter. But only the thing what he need to matter is if that particular bundle, if a certain amount of resources is used to the fullest extent, and if the usage is within the SLA, then the provider should scale upon it. So you should be constantly monitoring upon how these resources are being used, and necessarily when he should act upon when exactly the scaling is in demand. Okay, that's about few comparisons between the providers and consumers in terms of activities, in terms of controls, in among the fundamental services. Now you could see a combination of the cloud delivery models. So here uh, in the slide, you can see that two combinations have been chosen. That is EAS and PaaS is being considered, where ideally you could see that in the EAS first, there exists a physical server on which two virtual servers are being created. And on these virtual servers, certain environment is being made ready. Like if you say probably on the virtual server A, I've created one Windows machine and I've created one Linux machine. And on virtual server B, let me say I've created something else like Mac machine as well. Okay, so that's the ES plus PaaS combination. Similarly, I can have other sort of combination in the sense ES plus PaaS only, but from different cloud. See, in the previous example, all the both ES and PaaS are from the same cloud environment. But the current slide, what it talks is same. Of course, the ES is from yeah, the combination of ES and PaaS you can observe, but provided ES is one cloud, PaaS is from another cloud. That is, yes, service is being taken from one cloud, PaaS is taken from some other cloud. Maybe I can create an virtual machine I can create just bare metal virtual machine on Amazon, and I can have a operating system of Microsoft being installed, or else the package of Microsoft installed on that particular machine. So yeah, I can have it. I can just like that. I can have it. That means in this example, yes, I have chosen for AWS, and PaaS I have chosen for Microsoft Azure. Likewise, I could create it. Okay, so you can have a kind of playing kind of thing that can happen between various clouds with between various delivery models as well. Now you could see a combination of all the three fundamental cloud delivery models. Yes, on which PaaS is being created, and again on the PaaS there are few services are being run. There are few services are being run. Remember, even in this case also, all these three services can be on a single cloud, or it can be on three different clouds, or it can be of a combination of a clouds. Is that fine? Okay. Anyhow, so with this, I stop here, and in the next class,